Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stober. Tonight we'll be discussing two topics. The first, curbing fraudulent investment schemes in Nigeria. And here is a brief on our focus. The Nigerian business space is witnessing an upsurge in unregulated investment proposals that are promising unreasonable returns on investment. We'll examine this and measures to curb fraudulent practices. We'll also look at the role of regulatory agencies in ensuring the protection of investors and in exposing scams. But before we get to meet our guests, let's see this report put together by our correspondent, Joel Pupola.
It comes with different names and formats, from Wonder Bank that swindled unsuspecting members of the public 20 years ago, to MMM which cashed in on the desperation of many Nigerians about 10 years ago. Many have lost hard-earned money to fraudulent investments. These simillion-ending pyramids of deceits are once again gaining traction, with over 1 trillion naira losses recorded by Nigerians to Cybers, a fraudulent investment scheme that lured Nigerians with high returns on investment. Many have once again been forced to lend the hard way.
I think I remember that was 2022. I invested, I think, the whole of my saving for that year, and all just went like that. And since then, I have learned that any business you want to invest, it is something that you should know about. It is something that is genuine, not about online investment to make it sharp.
These losses have serious economic backlash in view of the humongous amount of money involved.
Number one, the operators understand the regulatory environment as well, and they know where the loopholes are, so they know how to walk that walk and escape the glare of the regulators. So this scheme has pulled our people into poverty, and it's a major disaster. 1.3 trillion is more than the annual budget of some states put together.
Fraudulent investment schemes, according to financial experts, come with very clear red flags, but many out of greed ignore these red flags.
15 days, in 30 days, in 3 months, then that should, be enough to tell you that what kind of investment is this. Nigerians have to be very, very careful. Apart from that, the key things you need to look out for is that for any investment you want to put your money in, you must be able to first consult your financial advisors to know the genuineness of all these investment schemes before you put your money into it.
The way out of this imbroglio is for the regulatory authorities to block all loopholes scammers are exploiting and also intensify surveillance.
Regulators that are supposed to regulate this kind of environment, this kind of space, need to go out there and educate the citizens. Spend money on some jingles, on radio, on TV, warning people about the evil of Ponzi scheme. I believe with that, we probably can reduce the number of people that will fall victim of Ponzi scheme. At least tell them what to check.
And I think it is expected on the part of SEC for them to be proactive. It is not when the damage has been done that you're not trying to say, no, this wasn't registered. No, you have to be proactive. Now, have people that are active on social media, Facebook, Twitter. When you see some of these platforms, you know they are not registered. You have to be proactive. Then you're trying to do the tracking. You can engage other security agencies in helping you tracking these people.
While it is difficult to recoup lost investments, stakeholders believe financial education will help many Nigerians avoid these pitfalls.
That report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let me go ahead and introduce our guests. We'd like to welcome to this program Mr. Wilson Owujaran. He's Director of Public Affairs of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Right. Let me also welcome to the program CP Hyacinth Azuka Edozie is Commissioner of Police in charge of money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism. False Criminal Investigation Department, FCID. Thanks for being here, CP.
Thank you, sir.
All right. We're also joined tonight by Orisha Jolomi Ayomike, Head Litigation, Corporate Affairs Commission here in Abuja. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, viewers.
Okay. Also here tonight is Dr. Saad Abdul Salam, Head of Enforcement Department, Securities and Exchange Commission. Thanks for being here.
Thank you and good evening.
Let me also introduce, joining us via Zoom, Tonya Lassie is a certified financial education instructor and founder MoneyWise. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
All
it's
right.
a pleasure.
Okay, so it's so clear what we're talking about. Curbing fraudulent investment schemes in Nigeria. Thank you so much once again to our guests for being here. Now, this start off, you know, anyone can actually take on this first question because we're seeing fraudulent investment schemes in this country and they're always coming and going. A lot of people have fallen victims. And what are the things citizens should be looking out for? And what's the scope of operations as of today? Speaking of these schemes, these fraudulent schemes that promise mouth-watering returns, unbelievable returns, and people are sucked in.
Okay, maybe I can take the first shot. Investors need to look out for certain signs or signals, such as the unbelievably high returns promised. Also, those operators or promoters of such schemes do it with high level of secrecy. I watched a video of CBEX before it went down, where they put together their clients in a room and are saying, do we have people amongst you who go out to leak our secret? You know, they were reprimanding those people to reassure them, and the people are saying, no, 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 you know. They are trying to run away from that accusation, meaning that they are operating, but they don't want people, or they don't want their operation or mode of operation to go public. The only way you can get to know of their existence mostly is on social media. Some of them restrict their operations to Telegram, some restrict it to WhatsApp, some to Instagram, some to Facebook. You know, you hardly find one that is on all the social media platforms. So there is so much secrecy. And then most of them don't have physical presence. Or some of them will start operation and within a month, 2-3 months, you will see them spreading like wildfire. Some can open offices with pomp and, you know, celebration, giving people free food and so on, just to attract that attention. And some of them, you will discover that when you ask a pertinent question, who regulates you? Some might tell you we are regulated internationally. They'll start mentioning some foreign regulators, knowing that it will be difficult for you to verify that information. But you can never operate in Nigeria in the financial sector without being regulated by the financial sector regulators. For instance, you can't do fund management, asset management, or any of those schemes that have semblance of collective investment scheme without being licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission. And every Nigerian or every individual can go to the website www.sec.gov.ng/CMO. Once you click, it will give you the list of all licensed operators.
You know, it's interesting you say this, but what do you think is the level of awareness of Nigerians that such companies must be registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission?
Well, the SEC has been doing a lot in terms of public enlightenment, But as the reporter that did lay the foundation of the program say, sometimes greed overtakes sense of reasoning. EFCC of recent published list of over 50 Ponzi schemes. It is on social media, it is on the normal regular media, but that does not stop people from, patronizing those schemes.
Some people just gloss over, and then, it's as long as they've heard one or two people say, look, we did this and we got this.
And some of them, I have seen some comments on social media where some people are saying, oh, so is a Ponzi, don't go to it. You will lose money the way Cybex clients lost their monies. But people will say, well, allow us, it is our money. Stubbornness can lead those people to destruction and loss of their hard-earned monies.
Amazing. Mr. Abuja.
Yeah. Well, like you said, I think greed is the number one factor in terms of this problem that we have with pyramid scheme. A lot of people don't want to exert energy, they don't want to exert effort in making wealth. We are all out to get wealth quickly. And so people disregard all the risk, all the red flag. It's not as if they are not aware of the risk involved in some of these things. Because I recall, after the Nospeco episode, all the major security agencies and even regulators, including SEC, came together. They set up a committee, and that committee initiated a very serious enlightenment campaign at that time to advise Nigerians against getting involved in Ponzi scheme. That did not stop MMM. That still came. And even after this CBEC, I can assure you that a lot of people, in future, another thing will also come up, and people will embrace it. The major problem is that we now have a culture in which people celebrate wealth, and regardless of how you get it, nobody questions you. Somebody will have 1,000, and you believe somebody promises you that in 1 month you can multiply it by 100%, and you believe that is true. It is too good to be true. And in spite of the public enlightenment that we embark upon, people still disregard that and embrace such practices. It's really regrettable.
CP, let's hear you.
Yeah. The last two speakers were on the right track, but I just want to add something a little bit different. When people go into Ponzi schemes, they want to invest so that they make enough money in a very short period. If you trace the history of Ponzi scheme, as far back as 1989, Umana, Planwell, Nospetro, MMM, and so on and so forth. Just as he said, once it happens, some steps are taken to make sure that it doesn't reoccur. But from my own standpoint, it will be very difficult because of the greed of some people who invest in such schemes. Why do I say because of the greed? I had a friend when MMM was on. He had school fees to pay in January for the children. He invested as much as 3 million naira. 3 days to when the return on his investments will mature. That was when, in December 2016, the scheme collapsed. The guy was devastated. He lost everything. Each time it happens, he sees something. Why did they not check with SEC? My brother, if you enter the universities, some students put money, businessmen put money. A lot of people put money into those schemes because they are expecting very huge return on investments. But the truth is, who will they approach to check? If you go to our universities today, apart from those who did business sciences, and maybe some in social media and very bright ones in maybe the sciences, how many of them know what is SEC? Security and Exchange Commission. Even if they've heard about SEC, how many of them know what SEC does? So they are blindfolded, they go into such schemes. And by the time they know it, it is late. Each time we talk about sensitization. SEC, they are experts in monitoring investments and businesses that go into such ventures. But the bottom line is, as they are doing that, it is their role. When it comes to sensitization, all of us will look down on an organization that would have helped. It's a question of comparative advantage. This is where I have my power. And this is where you have your power. Sometimes these regulatory agencies, even the security agencies, they find it difficult to bring in people who will help them do the proper sensitization. I'm talking about an organization like National Orientation Agency. They have spread throughout the 774 local governments in Nigeria. Where do we have SEC? So if you think you want to do it on your own, I listened to the DG SEC talk today. He was saying something about going online, how many Nigerians will want to go online to go and begin to check for SEC. CAC, I understand their own predicament. Their own is to register businesses. But when it comes to regulation of investment companies, it is SEC. Bring in National Orientation Agency to assist you. We are not saying you will wipe it off completely, but if we are on 70%, they may assist to create awareness that will bring it down to something near 40% because of the grassroots. I liken this issue of Ponzi scheme to maybe a tanker carrying petrol falls on the road. You will see people coming to scoop the fuel. As they are scooping, something happens and fire engulfs them. A lot of people will die. And when they die, you will think that in the next 2 weeks, if something like that happens, people will run away. If it happens again, you will still see people going to scoop. If another brand comes by tomorrow, same thing will happen. That is the point I want to make for now.
Yeah. Yes, well, yes. I align myself with everything that has been said so far. We have heard greed of Nigerians. I will add something else. Desperation. A lot of Nigerians have become very, very, very desperate. And unfortunately, like my EFCC colleague has said, nowadays, just have money. How it comes, it doesn't matter. Number 3, Nigerians, on a very general note, forget a lot. I align myself completely with the CP. If it starts again tomorrow, people will be caught up. I was going to say, he beat me to it, that National Orientation Agency can help a lot. CAC is on the program every week. Enlightenment, well, I know we are in 36 states of the Federation, but really, how far can we go? If you want to go into any form of business or alliance with anybody, it is advisable you should know the kind of business that person is engaged in. Understand it very well. We are a company's registry. The law says anybody who carries on business in Nigeria must be registered with CAC. We don't register bodies to come and carry out illegal activities. When we register you, like these Ponzi schemes, a lot of them come to, we register, they don't come to us that they want to register as Ponzi schemes. No. They fulfill all requirements of the law. Unfortunately, Nigerians, out of desperation, they don't do background checks. At the click of a button, see service at cac.gov.ng. You will know everything about the company. We are online. I mean, all security agencies, they come to us 24/7, we give information. If you want to know the people behind all of these things, I mean, CAC was about the first companies registry in Africa, and one of the very first on earth to open a beneficial ownership register. Click of a button, bor.gov.ng. You will see the people behind these things. But out of desperation, out of the fact that we forget where we are coming from, we still fall to these things. Mark my words, I'm not a prophet of doom, but if on June 1, 2025, another one comes up, people will still fall prey. There is nothing new under the sun. People will still fall prey.
Well, let's go over to Tony Alasi, who's joining us via Zoom, and I'll put the same question to her. Tony Alasi is a certified financial education instructor, founder of MoneyWise. Now, yes, there are many avenues to check, to find out who's authentic or who isn't. But you know, sometimes these companies are so smart that they start off and they do what they say they'll do for just a few, or they may even have people posing as beneficiaries to curry the confidence of their victims. So how financially educated are people who just go in and do? You know, some people just they either just get some money and just decide, well, I can put this, and maybe Mr. ABC told me he did it, and he's got millions, and it could be my turn. So what should people be looking out for?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. So I'd like to start by acknowledging everything that has been said. They are all very valid, and those are basic ways we can identify a Ponzi scheme and all of that. And I like the question because it shifts the target from the Ponzi scheme itself, but to the people. So as investors, we must embrace financial education. It's very, very pivotal. It's very basic. It's not something that is optional anymore, because the rate at which a lot of people are losing money is alarming. So it's important for investors themselves to become aware through financial literacy learning. What I've seen, and the pattern that I've seen with people, is because by virtue of what I do, we put out programs all the time. We have webinars, we have trainings, you know, paid, free, and you find out that, especially when it's free, people will rush to register, but on the day of the webinar, they don't show up. Things like that tell me that these people are not valuing what they should value the most, which is education. You can invest in anything in the world. The best investment is always the investment in yourself. That know-how, that intelligence, that ability to make a money-wise decision per time is very, very pivotal if people are going to avoid falling victims to Ponzi schemes. Like it's been said, it's going to happen again. If another one comes in May, the next month, people will still fall for it. So there's need for a lot of Nigerians to open up and embrace financial education, read books, go online, attend seminars, whether it's free or paid. I mean, I've had cases where people are very, 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 who have good money, have fallen for scams like this. And then they come to me, we guide them, and they've been able to achieve much more with monies that they've lost, than they've lost in the past. Why? Because they realize, of course, in a hard way by getting burnt, that there's a better way to do this. So, but you don't have to get burnt to do that. there are basic principles for financial success that everybody should know, like the fact that it takes time to build wealth. It doesn't happen overnight. So all these principles are there. In fact, if you go online and Google, you'll find those things. But most of the financial issues people face is much more than a knowledge problem. It's a habit thing. So that ability, that process of changing the mind will require the support, the mindset, or creating the mindset for wealth will require the support of financial advisors and, the help of a coach or a mentor for you to be able to attain that height where you understand that this is what I need to be doing in order to build wealth for myself.
All right. Let's go back to SEC and say, well, these companies who carry out these schemes, they register with you. And of course, as Mr. Ayomike said, they don't come to say, we want to carry out fraudulent activities. They pretend, they come in with everything nice and legal, and then at some point they begin to do what they do, set up the scheme. So what happened? What's it like at SEC when you find out these issues?
Okay, so when we find out such things, we conduct in-depth investigation into whatever they are doing. And as he said, our first port of call is the CAC to pull out information about the company and find out who are the promoters of the company, what does their MEMAT allow them to do, because that is the background. And then we now dig further, fishing for information from the social media, from the internet, and also we write to other agencies to say, oh, we have seen so, are you aware of it? Do you have it in your record? Did you register or license them, and so on? We do exchange information on daily basis with EFCC. If it is EFCC that gets to know about such, they write to us to say, okay, we are investigating so. Do you have it in your record as a registered operator or not? Who are the people? If it is registered, what did you register them to do, and so on? And we provide them with that information in a timely fashion. The same thing we do with other agencies. So that interagency collaboration is there. It helps us, but you see, you can never beat them. And I'll tell you why. Somebody will go to CAC and register a company for agro-processing business. And the same person will use the agro-processing business to lure investors by saying, oh, I have an agro-processing business that will give you so profit within so period. Invest in this business. And people will be trooping to give that, because what is the attraction? That return on investment rate. Somebody tells you, I'll give you 40%, I'll give you 50% within 3-4 months. Somebody will feel, if I go to the bank and put my money, how much will a bank give me? It is meager. So they will get attracted and they will go there. Last year, the SEC, through the Office of Attorney General, secured conviction of an operator of similar scheme called FAMSI in this Abuja. She claimed to be operating agro-processing business somewhere around Kubwa and was collecting people's money, busy buying houses, plots of land, cars with the money. And it got to a stage where people cannot get that profit, talk less of their own investment. And by the time SEC looked into it, the woman was, because SEC worked with the Nigerian police force. The IG has set up a unit within SEC. They are police officers, but they are residing in SEC. They work with us on daily basis. So we use them to go and pick the woman up, and the Attorney General served as our prosecutor and the prosecutor. She was jailed for 5 years, and the court also ordered that the company should be liquidated. All her own assets should also be liquidated, so that the investors can get their money back. The commission just appointed a liquidator to carry out that task and execute the order of the court. So it is really a long shot. There is no short way to doing it. Investigation takes long. You have to gather evidence. For you to obtain an order from the court, either to freeze the asset of that company or the operator, you must put together all evidences that will convince the court that you need that order. We work with NFIU, which keeps a database of all financial transactions by everybody in this country. We obtain information from them, which we also furnish to the court for us to get freeze order. And I will say we should be grateful to the President for assenting to the Investment and Securities Act 2025. It was signed into law sometime last month, and it has now given us the power to do certain things, which before we don't have that power. So, and that collaboration is becoming stronger because this morning, the DG of SEC was at National Cyber Crime Center of the Nigerian Police Force to have a conversation with them on collaboration. He went to Corporate Affairs Commission, he went to National Broadcasting Commission on the same mandate. Why? Because the media houses are also not helping matters. Why? Because they give airtime to those people to advertise their products. And you will be wondering.
Well, in fairness to the media, a company is registered with the CAC and its line of business and is registered with you. The company doesn't come on to say, we want to scam people. So yeah. We're advertising services. But is there a regulation that says you cannot, for instance, someone might say, you're promising 40% in 3 months on return on investment. Is there a rule that says they cannot say that?
Yeah, but you see, no registered operator can promise you 40%. Why? Because if that operator collect money from you and invest it, he has cost of operations to take care of. He has his own aim of making profit. So how will he make so much profit to the extent of taking out cost of operations, taking out his own portion of the profit and giving you 40% of what you invested? It is only the illegal operators and the illegal schemes that do that. So all the operators and the schemes that promise such unreasonable profit are illegal because they are not licensed to carry out that function.
Mr. Ujarin, when this is found out, I mean, people will think, yes, it keeps happening over and over again. But what has happened to those who have been caught? He says that they've secured conviction for one person who has. But a lot of these people who do these schemes, once they're exposed, a lot of them disappear. And in fact, let's use the CBEX as one case in point, where it's been reported that the EFCC says it's going to get people's money. But how can you do that?
Well, based on our own experience in investigating Ponzi scheme, we have in the past been able to make recoveries from some of them. We have also made arrests in the past. But that does not mean that once it happens, you will make instant recovery. It takes time. Investigation takes time. The spokesperson for EFCC, for instance, when this news broke, came on television to say, okay, EFCC is already investigating CBS, and we will ensure that those who invested in that scheme will not lose their money. That is a promise that the Commission has made. And as I speak to you, investigation is ongoing. We are doing diligent investigation quietly. I can't speak on the extent of that investigation now, but I can promise those who invested that the Commission is on the matter. The dilemma that we face in Ponzi scheme is that no matter how diligent your investigation is, you are not likely going to be able to recover 100% of whatever anybody has invested. There is no magic that any law enforcement agency will do to get 100% recovery. We will make some recovery. And the law is there. We also ensure that those who are involved, who we are tracking now, if we are able to get them, they will face the law, we will prosecute them. Over the years, we have done some prosecution. I can't begin to name all those that we have prosecuted in terms of Ponzi scheme. In Port Harcourt, for instance, there is one MBA Forex that EFCC investigated. We made a number of recoveries there. The man is also currently on the run. We declared him wanted. In all the states, even in Akwa Ibom, there are several Ponzi schemes that Nigerians don't know about that EFCC has investigated. It's just because of the quantum of resources that is involved in this CBS matter. That is why it's generating so much attention. But Ponzi scheme is so widespread.
In fact, we understand that there are some schemes are carried out. I mean, some of these are not even registered, and people don't even check. They just go ahead and say, look, I mean, we have a company, we can do this, we can do that. And they're not even registered. Some people would not even try to check. And when some find out, there's a culture of silence so as not to be derided for having fallen victim. So this thing spreads. And now for the police. At what point do you begin when the investigations are long and winding? And of course, we have the court system to deal with as well. As he said, you would need certain things to convince the court where you can freeze assets.
I understand what you are saying. The first Ponzi scheme in Nigeria was in 1989. Omana. That time there was no EFCC. The investigation of that case was done even before I joined the police. But there's something I want to say. If you look at the trend, some of these Ponzi schemes, their gestation period sometimes gets into 3 months, 4 months before they collapse. Now, when monies are hitting the accounts of these so-called investment companies that are into Ponzi scheme, when money are hitting their accounts, what does the banker say? What do they do?
I mean, there is perhaps we'll ask Mr. Ujaren
let me
tell us about the level of compliance when huge sums are getting into banks. Right.
By the time they start, you see money going in, coming out. And we have NFIU to begin to see suspicious transactions or reports that are supposed to come from banks. That is on one side. So they'll continue this thing for a long time where the latest investors now fail to get their money. The earlier ones we get, and the thing collapses. The question now is, okay, I know people will ask, where were the security agencies? Let me tell you the problem. Part of the problem is even bankers invest. Yes, they invest. They may be among the early investors. They get what they want. Some will say, you got. Just like the man I mentioned that invested in November, hoping to get his returns by December. The thing crashed 3 days before that time. So you begin to check. How are these people? Even those in the security, some of their relations will invest. Everybody is keeping mute. They are keeping mute. So that is why these things will come. They will go. After a while again, another group will come. Because from my little observation and studies, you discover that people who are supposed to nip this thing in the bud at the early stage are even part of it. So it is when it crashes that people will now start making noise.
Okay, let me quickly come to Mr. Ujaren before we come to you. And banks are supposed to alert.
Yeah.
Right. How compliant have banks been in this?
Well, that's an issue. Under the law, banks are supposed to file transaction reports to NFIU, transaction above a certain threshold. And if it looks to them that maybe deposit coming into an account is unusual, they are supposed to file reports to NFIU. But you find a situation where banks don't do that, especially when they believe that this is a high network customer. The craze to get more deposits into the banking system makes them to neglect their obligation to the regulators. That is an issue with reporting of transactions from the banking sector.
Well, Mr. Jolomi Ayomike.
You see, some of these things, let's take the banking sector, for instance. There is a threshold, yes. But, I mean, a lot of times, these people do not get to that threshold. It was mentioned here that they know how to beat the system. If CBN issues to banks, anybody that does transaction of more than 5 million naira, for instance, let us know. If I bring in 4.9 million, CBN is not obliged to be informed, you know. So this is what they do. These transactions, you know, but I mean, the people are aware. We just need to let Nigerians know that, look, this get rich quick syndrome, you have to forget about it. That, in my humble view, is one of the ways to fight this thing. If you are talking of collaboration, I know for a fact that with EFCC, with the DSS, with the Nigerian police, and so on and so forth, right now we are trying to have a handshake with NIMSI so that once you register a company, we ask for the various identifications that you have. You register a company, you can be traced wherever you go, through your local government, your signatures, the banks, you have accounts, and so on and so forth. You will be traced. But these people are very, very, very smart. Education, 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 and enlightenment is the way to go.
Sometimes we see that these companies have foreign partners, and it's more like an international network. You hear them saying they're representatives of some international organizations, or they even assume trade names that are similar to others. We hear about that. Let's go over to Toyi Alasi.
Yes, please. So, well, it's part of the trick, like just as it has been mentioned, it's all part of the trick they use. The truth of the matter is they learn the system and find different ways to beat it all the time. So as he rightly said, the way to go is education, education, education. For example, if I'm financially intelligent, there's nothing you will tell me that will make me put money in such platform. A lot of times I don't even get to know of them because it's not my preoccupation. I think there's a lot of pressure on people to get rich quick, to hit it big suddenly. Let me share a particular one I heard about a particular medical doctor. So again, you find out that it's not enough to be academically educated at the highest level you can imagine. Financial education is a different thing entirely. He's a doctor. He joined the platform and started to build a hospital for himself. Now, what do they play on? It's the greed. They know that once you put in the first time and you can get 100% over on your money the next time, then you want to come back. Now, he got the first time, got the second time, got a number of times and started to build a hospital to a level. Now, he had the bill of quantity and decided that, you know what, I now need maybe another 200 million to finish. And so he sold things, sold this, borrowed money and everything so that he could put it on the platform and then double that money by the end of the month and be able to complete his hospital project. And that's where he lost everything as we speak. So it's going to keep repeating itself if people don't embrace financial education. He's a doctor, well educated, yet the financial level of financial intelligence is really low. And to build your financial intelligence, you have to be willing to learn how money works. There are foundational principles. It takes time. You have to think long term. There is no successful person out there that is financially successful that does not think long term. All of this basic, there's also the concept of delayed gratification. That means that when you put your money here, at the end of the month, when you work for 30 days, you have to wait to be paid at the end of the month. If you invest your money anywhere with any organizations, the legitimate ones, you have to wait till end of month at least to get your returns on your money. So there's always a process to wealth. People have to come to that realization and start to do things right. What I would suggest also is the need for shared vigilance. Instead of hiding, for example, a lot of people won't own up that they lost money to this because it's, in quotes, shameful. In other words, they know that what they are doing is wrong. They know that they are being greedy, yet they will go into it hoping that they will cash out. Even if you cashed out, it's other people's monies you took. And that's not real wealth in the first place. So there's need for everybody around us, for all of us to be aware, shared vigilance. If you see anything going on, report it, tell somebody about it until it gets to the regulators and they can nip it in the bud.
Let me ask this question. Sometimes people say, why they get sucked into schemes like this, when they want to go in the legal, the nice way and do things, properly, they encounter delays and bottlenecks. A case in point, I might put this to Mr. Abuja, is the matter of SCUMO, for instance. How easy is it?
To get SCUMO?
Yes.
It's very easy.
Because I've heard people, well, I don't know about this, that's why I'm putting this question to you. I've heard people say, oh, unless you know someone in EFCC or unless you go through this, you might not be able to get your SCUMO certificate.
You don't need to know anybody in EFCC to get a SCUMO certificate. The registration is done online. Once you log on to their website, they have their own website, and you fill the forms there, attach the relevant documents, and you wait for maybe a week or two. The certificate will be issued to you. Now, it's even a digital certificate, not a physical certificate that you go and collect physically. It will be sent to you through your email.
And it is free?
It is free.
No hidden costs.
So, but the challenge that most people face in registration is that some of them don't supply all the required documents. And if you miss one document, the application will not be accepted. That is.
So that's the part where you have to do someone. That's what leads to the allegation
it's just to be educated on how to fill the form.
And the reality is that somebody who wants to do something illegal will not want to come under scrutiny. You submit documents, that regulator or that security agency to whom you submit those documents will definitely scrutinize those documents. In the process, additional information will have to be called for, which most people evade. So in their bid to evade that scrutiny, they will now say, oh, let's bypass the regulatory side and go into our operations. And also, let me add to the question you asked her. Some borrowed foreign terminologies. Yes. You see, let's use CBEX as a case, an example. The company was incorporated with CAC as ST Technology International Limited. But you can never see that name anywhere CBEX is mentioned. You can either see CBEX ST or Smart Technology or Smart Radio, but you can never see the correct name that was used to incorporate. So if you go to CAC to say, let me verify this information, you can never find CBEX in their database. CBEX is the name of a Chinese exchange. So they now borrowed that acronym and they are using it as a brand name. So most of those Ponzi's, they borrowed foreign acronyms or names and use as a brand name. So that is the problem. So you can never tie the two together unless you have dig deeper for you to know.
And so someone who's desperate, who needs to make 100% in 1 or 2 months, will not even be spending much time digging deeper.
Absolutely.
How easy is it to access information from SEC? For instance, I want to check out a company. How is it going to be easy for me? How do I go about it?
Yeah, the information is there on the website. All you need, just go to the website, click on the Capital Market Operators database. All registered operators will be there. You will see the name of the company, you will see the name of the managing director, you will see the telephone number of the company, you will see the name of the compliance officer who serve as the interface between the company and the regulators. And whatever inquiry you want to make, if you call most of the numbers on that database, they are answered by the compliance officer. So that information is there, that information is available. If you send an email to sec@sec.gov.ng, there are people, it is an office that is set up specifically to handle inquiries. If they have the answer, they will give you the response immediately. If they need to get across to somebody on another desk to provide the information, they will forward the mail to that relevant department and you will get the feedback immediately. You can even make a call. There are numbers there. There is a WhatsApp number where you can chat them. I have received, during this Easter break, I have received a lot of inquiries that are sent through the official WhatsApp line of the Commission, and the people on that desk keep forwarding it to me, and I'll give them feedback, which they will now send back to the person making that inquiry.
It works a similar way too for the CAC.
Oh, indeed. I can tell you to take that to the bank. Send an email now. Now, we are there 24/7. The EFCC has clear access to our website. Embassies in Nigeria, if the Romanian ambassador wants to find out about Cyril Stoba Nigeria Limited from his desk, click of a button, all the information you know. All of these things are there. Foreigners use it, so I wonder why Nigerians, don't want to, use these facilities.
Well, we'll take a short break here. When we return, we'll continue with this conversation. Stay with us.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying with us. Let's at this point just round off with a word of caution to those who might be thinking of placing their investments in these unbelievable schemes. And for those who have fallen victim, the kinds of reassurance they can get that law enforcement will take this course. Let's start off with you, Mr. Mujare.
I think my only advice to them is to be aware of the red flags. Once you have an investment that is too good to be true, in terms of promise of return on investment, just run away from it. And additionally, I also want to inform the general public that the mere fact that an organization brandishes a SCUMU certificate does not mean that the EFCC has cleared their operations.
All right, because someone can say, I have a SCUMU, I mean, you can see that, so
yes,
I'm nice and legal and
so
perfect.
SCUMU certification is just for designated non-financial institutions and businesses, in line with the provisions of the Money Laundering Act, Section 17.
All right. CP.
Yeah. Sensitization and awareness is very key. Education, there's nothing stopping the country from introducing financial crimes, basic financial crimes, in school curriculum, especially the universities. You can take it as financial crime 101. So that, look at, they are talking about a doctor. And don't be surprised, throughout his school in the university, it's just medical, physics, chemistry, biology. And by the time the person graduates, he's going into the world where the end thing is business, how to make money, and things like that. So that awareness is key. And this issue I said about regulatory agencies, you are experts in regulating. You might not be an expert in sensitization.
Right. For you?
Yeah, well, I mean, they've said it all. People should try to educate themselves. I mean, go into our various portals, get to know about the companies. You can get the status by the click of a button. You know who the directors are. You know the kind of businesses they are into, and so on and so forth. You know who is behind them. And you must understand what you want to get into before you invest your hard-earned money. And once you see that the returns are mouth-watering, I mean, that alone is a red flag.
Dr. Saad Abdul Salam.
Okay, my advice is that when somebody comes to an area or to a exchange, so they now borrow that acronym and they are using it as a brand name. So most of those Ponzi's, they borrowed foreign acronyms or names and use as a brand name. So that is the problem. So you can never tie the two together unless you have dig deeper for you to know.
And so someone who's desperate, who needs to make 100% in 1 or 2 months, will not even be spending much time digging deeper.
Absolutely.
How easy is it to access information from SEC? For instance, I want to check out a company. How is it going to be easy for me? How do I go about it?
Yeah, the information is there on the website. All you need, just go to the website, click on the Capital Market Operators database. All registered operators will be there. You will see the name of the company, you will see the name of the managing director, you will see the telephone number of the company, you will see the name of the compliance officer who serve as the interface between the company and the regulators. And whatever inquiry you want to make, if you call most of the numbers on that database, they are answered by the compliance officer. So that information is there, that information is available. If you send an email to sec@sec.gov.ng, there are people, it is an office that is set up specifically to handle inquiries. If they have the answer, they will give you the response immediately. If they need to get across to somebody on another desk to provide the information, they will forward the mail to that relevant department and you will get the feedback immediately. You can even make a call. There are numbers there. There is a WhatsApp number where you can chat them. I have received, during this Easter break, I have received a lot of inquiries that are sent through the official WhatsApp line of the commission, and the people on that desk keep forwarding it to me, and I'll give them feedback, which they will now send back to the person making that inquiry.
It works a similar way too for the CAC.
Oh, indeed, indeed. I can tell you to take that to the bank. Send an email now. Now, we are there 24/7. The EFCC has clear access to our website. Embassies in Nigeria, if the Romanian ambassador wants to find out about Cyril Stoba Nigeria Limited from his desk, click of a button, all the information, all of these things are there. Foreigners use it, so I wonder why Nigerians, don't want to, use these facilities.
Well, we'll take a short break here. When we return, we'll continue with this conversation. Stay with us.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying with us. Let's at this point just round off with a word of caution to those who might be thinking of placing their investments in these unbelievable schemes. And for those who have fallen victim, the kinds of reassurance they can get that law enforcement will take this course. Let's start off with you, Mr. Mujare.
I think my only advice to them is to be aware of the red flags. Once you have an investment that is too good to be true, in terms of promise of return on investment, just run away from it. And additionally, I also want to inform the general public that the mere fact that an organization brandishes a SCUMU certificate does not mean that the EFCC has cleared their operations.
All right, because someone can say, I have a SCUMU, I mean, you can see that, so
yes,
I'm nice and legal and perfect.
So SCUMU certification is just for designated non-financial institutions and businesses, in line with the provisions of the Money Laundering Act, Section 17.
All right. CP.
Yeah. Sensitization and awareness is very key. Education, there's nothing stopping the country from introducing financial crimes, basic financial crimes, in school curriculum, especially the universities. You can take it as financial crime 101. So that, look at, they are talking about a doctor. And don't be surprised, throughout his school in the university, it's just medical, physics, chemistry, biology. And by the time the person graduates, he's going into the world where the end thing is business, how to make money, and things like that. So that awareness is key. And this issue I said about regulatory agencies, you are experts in regulating. You might not be an expert in sensitization.
Right. For you?
Yeah, well, I mean, they've said it all. People should try to educate themselves. I mean, go into our various portals, get to know about the companies. You can get the status by the click of a button. You know who the directors are. You know the kind of businesses they are into, and so on and so forth. You know who is behind them. And you must understand what you want to get into before you invest your hard-earned money. And once you see that the returns are mouth-watering, I mean, that alone is a red flag.
Dr. Saad Abdul Salam.
Okay, my advice is that when somebody comes to an area or to a religious worship place to distribute palliative and then do a workshop for you, be careful, because most of them, that's what they do to lure their victims. Also, people should know what the red flags are. Once you see the sign, avoid it. Verify the status of those schemes and operators from the SEC, and when you see something, please say something.
Right. Tonya Lassie.
Yes, so the first rule to investing is to investigate. So before you take any investment decision, always take as much time to verify the systems. People must realize that wealth is built through informed decisions, patience, and realistic strategies, and not get-rich-quick schemes. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for being part of this program. Toya Lassie, Certified Financial Education Instructor and founder of MoneyWise. We appreciate your contributions tonight. Thank you. And back here in the studio, thanks to Mr. Wilson Wujaran, Director of Public Affairs, EFCC. Thank you. CP Hyacinth Azuka Edozie, Commissioner of Police in charge of money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism. Thank you. Thank you also to Orisha Jolomi Ayomike, Head Litigation, CAC, the Corporate Affairs Commission. And finally, Dr. Saad Abdul Salam, Head of Enforcement Department, Securities and Exchange Commission. We thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Up next is our second topic, which has to do with recognizing the critical role of women in leadership and governance. Nigeria's commitment to gender issues is moving towards achieving a fair balance in the statistics of male and female office holders in mainstream governance and other corporate leadership roles. Now, recognizing the critical role of women in positions is a bold statement in the advocacy to remove the hindrances limiting their progress. Question is, how far has politics favored women despite a growing population of about 45% in the processes that drive opportunities for national aspiration and development? We'll be talking about this in our second topic, but just before then, let's get to see this report put together by correspondent Mamsu Demiandeti.
Recognize that girls and women are a gift. They have strength, and we have to unleash that strength so that they can contribute to the continent. I strongly believe that when we do all of these things, we find that the Rising Africa narrative is not a fluke.
On what needs to be kept, on the ambition, the mitigation, and the finance. It's very clear to everyone what we need. The handshake for 100 billion has not happened. It's a handshake. 100 billion is not...
I'm going to speak. I'm going to use my voice. Women in any position of power play crucial roles in challenging deeply ingrained gender stereotypes that question their suitability for public leadership. These stereotypes vary across regions, ranging from patriarchal norms rooted in religious and cultural beliefs to outright marginalization.
We still have things like patriarchy, the legal frameworks. Nigeria has ratified 75% of all legal frameworks that protect the rights of women and girls, boys and men. But we have the problem of domestication, of implementation.
We need to take more action to speak out against all such form of discrimination against women. We need to speak out against every form of harassment, intimidation, be it in the public space or private space, in schools, in offices, in workplaces, in families. And we need to take action to ensure that equality is attained
By increasing women's representation in appointed positions, experts say Nigeria can tap into a wealth of talent, skills, and experiences, as women leaders can drive policy changes, promote social justice, and contribute to sustainable development, prioritizing women's empowerment.
Take, for instance, in terms of expertise, we have women who are doing very great work in different scientific fields, that is the STEM field. So women are actually, they are progressing, but we are not yet where we want to be.
Let's start from the parties. A party where you find that there's only woman leader and then one other woman as a token is unacceptable. The political parties must be gender sensitive and not gender blind. We are all stakeholders in this thing called politics. Women cannot be left out. And when women are in positions and in positions of decision making, you will see that the difference is very clear. Look at Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Look at Amina Mohammed. How come they are doing well in the international space? How come Nigerian women are not given the opportunity to do well at home? That quotas must be set aside for women, and that the national gender policy, which gives 35%, I understand it has almost risen to 50%. The national gender policy should be made to work.
This underrepresentation highlights the need for increased involvement of women in shaping policy and decision-making processes, advocates say.
We are not where we want to be, but definitely we are not where we used to be. And so we are moving forward, and our expectation is that, women will have a place where, women are recognized and also appointed in key positions.
Women should be educated. Women should be given opportunities. We are saying that from the background of the information that we have concerning women and the role that they play in nation building. Equal opportunity is what we are saying. Let there be a level playing ground where the woman or the girl is not coming on that stage already disadvantaged. She's coming on the stage with the assurance that whatever ability she has will be allowed to flourish, and when she deserves certain accolades, it is given to her.
That report by Mumsudi Mendeti highlighting the challenges and why it's necessary to change the mindset about women in appointed leadership and in governance as well. Let me introduce our guest here. We have joining us on this segment, Amsfrey Ajanaku, civil society activist. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Right. We're joined via Zoom by Abiola Akiode Afolabi, lawyer and civil rights activist and founding director, Women Advocates Research and Documentation Center. Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah,
Good evening.
Thank you for joining us. Also joining us via Zoom is Tammy Edet Kamonke, Executive Director, Gender Perspective in Development. Good evening.
Thanks for having me.
Lara, let's start from you, actually, and your perception of women participation in leadership and governance in Nigeria. How well have we done these past years of unbroken democracy in Nigeria?
That's me. Okay, I mean, we've heard the story that has just been aired, the research that has just been aired, and we've heard the different perspectives of women on how well women are doing. We can see that a lot of the development that Nigeria is trying to achieve hinges on the equitable participation of all different stakeholders. And when you're talking about the stakeholders in the Nigerian project, we're talking about national development. You cannot exclude a particular group of stakeholders. For example, you have in a household a man and a woman, husband and wife, or mother and father, and you have the children, boys and girls. Each person in the household plays his or her own critical the well-being of the household. The same applies to the nation. So the essence of ensuring that women are given the right opportunity to also make their input towards national development is not a question of asking someone to give women, to do women a favor, as it were. Women have equal stake in the development of the nation, and sustainable development cannot happen effectively where you sideline a critical group of the stakeholders. And that is the point that is being made by different stakeholders, by women and men alike, from different points of view. What we are trying to say is that the development that we are currently seeing in Nigeria falls short of the quality that is required because women are not being adequately involved. Women are not participating as effectively as they should. And we can see that even from the National Assembly. We have the number of women that are at the National Assembly that are representing the views, the perspectives of women have dwindled over the years. So we could say that we have rather lost mileage, we have lost ground. The development or the successes that have been achieved over the years, are currently being, undermined by the fact that the political space is not as enabling, is not equitable. Somebody talked about the fact that the political parties do not provide level playing ground for both men and women. So those are some of the issues that we're talking about. Even in appointive positions, we can see that a lot of the positions are actually given to men, and that does not in any way suggest that there are no qualified women. We are seeing that Nigerian women are doing well internationally. The Okonjo Iwealas and the Amina Mohammed. So what is happening in Nigeria? So obviously the policy environment is not enabling. And that is one critical area that needs to be looked at to ensure that Nigerian women are also given the opportunity to make their input like their male counterparts.
Right. In politics, for instance, what do you see as the major obstacles to women, and what are the strategies to solve those hindrances?
We know that the political structure in Nigeria, when you look at the political parties, they are very patriarchal in culture. The patriarchal culture that we observe at the level of the socio-cultural level, the communities, we can see it permeates the political space. For example, there is no political party in Nigeria, whether major or minor political party, that is led by women. Often you find that, women are given tokenistic positions, women leader. Sometimes they give them financial secretary or treasurer. So that does not in any way give the woman the opportunity to equally make her input into the political structure. And that kind of structure cannot produce the kind of equitable participation of women and women that we are talking about. Because when you have a political structure that is dominated by men, you have already implicitly saying that this space is for men, that this environment can only be led by men, because the women do not have a say. Most often you find situations where a woman is asked to step aside for a man who might be her uncle or her father or a male figure. The political godfathers, play a critical role in determining who gets the ticket from which party in which constituency. So those are all, indications of the male dominance that we are talking about. So when we're talking about patriarchy, it's not a far-fetched thing. We can see it all over, our environment. So the political structure does not in any way, allow level playing ground, because men and women do not have equal power, they do not have equal access to opportunities. The resources that are available within the party are mostly, at the accessible to the men who have control over the party structures. So you're talking about women emerging as, party bearers. Who gives them the opportunity when the decision makers within the party are all men? So let's start from that point of view. So if we really want the political structure to be equitable, then it's very important for the internal democracy to also take into consideration, gender equality. How are women being, given the opportunity to equally play critical roles in the leadership of the parties? How are women also being given the opportunity to make their input in terms of the timing of meetings, in terms of the kinds of activities that are being held during political campaigns, for example? When you hold meetings, at specific times in specific places. You know, for example, in hotels, midnight, they tell you that political parties are always held at night. And women that dare to participate in these meetings are labeled as, prostitutes, free women. You know, they'll tell you that, a responsible woman, a married woman should be at home by this time. You know? So what are you, doing in such a meeting? So those kinds of stereotypic, labels of women who are active in politics must, also be considered as antithetical to equitable participation of women in political activities. So those are some of the examples that I can give to you that are creating hindrances or stumbling blocks, in equitable participation of women, especially in the political process.
Well, back here in the studio, I'm free. How best can we ensure equal opportunities for women in the leadership positions?
Yes, I want to first of all thank my co-panelists for that very exhaustive analysis of the issue, and to say that one of the ways to do that is to do a fundamental rethinking in terms of whose role and whose responsibility it is. Because sometimes when we talk about these women issues, many of the male folk, they switch off and say, that's, for women to decide, how they want to participate. But it's a collective responsibility if we look at how we want to change the social norms and that whole order of privilege and patriarchy that has consigned women to the back foot in our political process. And to say that, yes, while some progress has been made, like, has been identified in the report earlier, there's still a whole lot of ground to cover. For example, if we look at, the whole concept of affirmative action, ensuring gender parity by appointment, for example, would see, for example, you look at the federal cabinet, we are not really doing, really well as, we should do, even where we had a situation in which political leaders made, clear and specific promises to say, okay, we are going to give this quota as a way of rallying the voices of this historically neglected group to be able to participate in the process. So one way is to look in the direction of accountability, ensuring that where we already have some promises that have been made, we get to drum up that support and ensure that we push for those promises to be fulfilled. So if, for example, the president has said he was going to give 35% of his cabinet position to women, and he has not done that, he has only 16.7% of women in the cabinet, then we should be making accountability demands and insisting that that political promise has to be respected. I think another very important point is the point about how the information space itself tends to create all of these narratives that want to relegate women to the background. And so we have, for example, in the information ecosystem, what we call the gender disinformation. And you come to terms with the fact that even in society, what inspires maybe a young woman that wants to come out for political position, maybe go through some mentoring, go through some training, is the level of information she has. And if she has that kind of narrative, or she's been targeted online, there's online harassment, that is not allowing her to meaningfully participate in the political process, then we also have a responsibility to ensure that we design and put in place an information ecosystem that provides that encouragement, that provides that backing. And so if any woman politician is being harassed online, made to face digital persecution of any form, we should be able to provide that bulwark, that kind of support, for those kinds of women to be sure that they are able to engage in politics through safe spaces online.
Okay, let's go over to Abiola Akeode Afolabi, who's joined us via Zoom too. And how cohesive is the mobilization of Nigerian women to achieve fair representation with their male counterparts?
Well, thank you very much. And I want also to thank the other speakers. Well, a lot has been done in terms of mobilization of women. And it's only that the tide is probably stronger than what anybody can imagine. There are systemic issues, there are structural issues, there are also issues that are legal issues, so which has to do with the kind of legal framework that we have, to see whether those legal framework can support women's emancipation in Nigeria. One of the areas is the areas around the Constitution, whether the Constitution itself promotes that kind of gender equality that you would expect. And if the Constitution is the grand norm, so women are mobilized, around that also, demanding and requesting for a Constitution that can portray equity in the real sense. There are quite a number of sections in that grand norm, that's actually very discriminatory, against women. So there are mobilization in that regard. So the several constitutional processes that we have been having since 1999. So women had participated at different levels, demanding for illegal process that is much more inclusive. And so that is also part of what has led, to the 5 gender bills, which were the bills that are currently before the National Assembly, which has reduced to 1 or 2. So which is part of the mobilization and demand that women's movement, women's group, women's rights organizations have been demanding for. At the level of constituency too, in the last few period, we had also strategized to have what we call constituency network, where we have women who are also engaging with senators at different levels, some go to their campaign offices to try to see whether they can negotiate, with them and lobby them, so that if there are votes, on some of these issues, especially with the with the reserve seat bill that is coming up. So there are also ongoing mobilization in that regard. There are also women in the grassroots that are also engaging in that regard. But as I said, the tide is probably stronger than what we can imagine. So we probably will need to do more, in terms of addressing some of the issues that have been raised here. One is about the gender disinformation that that my colleague had raised here. One is also about the portrayal by the media. There is a need to have all hands on deck, because there are socio-cultural issues that are still there. They are still very strong. We still have in this country. Female genital mutilation is ongoing. Widowhood practice is ongoing. Femicide has also become like a major issue, happening, to women. So, and political participation and representation, there are issues that can only thrive also in spaces where it's violence free, where there are no threats. And if we see the way the political space is, there are also a lot of violence, a lot of threats, shutting down of women's voices, and all of that. So it's a combination of, so addressing this, mobilizing around this means that we have to be much more holistic, in our mobilization. So people look at women in leadership from different areas. You look at women in leadership in law. You would look at women in leadership in civil society, and other spaces, so that we're not just looking at it only from the elective position, so that we're also incubating women who are growing to be able to represent, at those levels.
All right. We'll take a message at this point. We'll continue shortly.
What's going on about elective and appointive positions in the ongoing constitutional reforms? Are you wondering what this is about?
It is very simple. Gender quota is a policy that ensures a fair representation of both men and women in leadership and governance spaces.
It is designed to create a more balanced and inclusive environment by setting a minimum threshold for either gender, recognizing that both men and women bring valuable perspectives to decision making.
For example, this is in place in Rwanda, where women make up 61% of the parliament, and in Namibia, where women make up 46.2%.
In Nigeria, without a gender quota, women in parliament are 4.7%.
With a gender quota,
we can change this narrative.
Join the movement.
All right, let's start this with you, Amsfree. What role can men play in supporting and advocating for women's leadership and leadership advancement?
Yeah, I think this is a very important question because there are many of the male folk that are,
Okay, all right, okay. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes. So there are many men that are at a loss in terms of, what role they should play in terms of supporting that very laudable cause of women empowerment. And one of the points I will make is the fact that men should not just switch off when they hear these issues. I think that's a starting point. The starting point is men should also, show that interest to be able to contribute and also to listen to what the issues are, to be able to also raise awareness, to come to that understanding that it's not about tokens. It's not about saying, okay, we want to, give women, but to see this as a holistic part of the development of the country, and knowing that if they are able to support that cause, they are also going to be able to win over a critical mass of other men who are not currently supporting women, to get them to participate in the political process.
Okay, at this point, let's take a call coming through from Birnin Kebbi. Umar Anache on the line. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, Umar. Thanks for calling in.
Hello.
Yes, Umar, you there? Go ahead.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm Umar Anache calling from Building K. Usually a regular caller. You see, this issue of fraud in investment, it all started from federal government agencies. The federal government agencies, some of them are not even serious. I could remember in 2023-24, there was a bank arrangement with CBM. There is microfinance bank with CBM. They asked us to register with our business.
All right, Umar. Well, yeah, well, okay. Umar, your contribution is with regard to the first topic which we dealt with. Okay, thank you. We appreciate that. But your contribution is with regard to the very first topic we dealt with here, which was about financial schemes that have been set up to scam people of their hard-earned money. We went beyond that, and now we're talking about the critical role of women in appointed leadership and in governance. That's where we are now. If you notice, the first set of guests have left us, and that was... But we have on the line now Don from Port Harcourt. Go ahead.
Just go straight to the point.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, people on the studio. Yes, my own contribution is that in the aspect of the women, we should give them the equal rights in terms of to
Well, I think we lost that call there. So let's just get back to our other discussant, Tammy Edith Kamoke, who's also joining us via Zoom. And Tammy, yes, if you're there, well, there are social and cultural factors which are standing in the way of women, and surmounting those would demand deliberate and sustained efforts.
Yes, in fact, when you asked the last question about the role that men can play, I think a lot of the issues that we are dealing with socially, cultural norms, especially with regards to gender stereotypes, there's a lot that needs to be done, and especially we need role modeling by men who are in leadership positions. For example, when you hear a man in a key leadership position in Nigeria saying something like, oh, we shouldn't have given women this chance, because when you give women the chance to be deputy governors or to be this, they do not, they misuse the opportunity. So that is very misleading. And the impression that creates is that leadership is the exclusive preserve of men. And so that reinforces the stereotype that leadership is actually meant for men. But that is not the case, because that is more of a myth. So it's also important that the men, especially those who are in leadership positions, take on the responsibility of, first and foremost, developing their own self-awareness. Because unfortunately, with due apologies to the men who are making efforts to, educate themselves around gender issues, there is a lot of ignorance around these issues. A lot of men are not gender aware. And so they say whatever comes to mind, irrespective of how it comes across. And those create certain kinds of misconceptions, especially among those that look up to them, because we recognize that gender equality requires the buy-in of both men and women. Women cannot go it alone. And in the same vein, men cannot provide all the answers to all the issues that are facing us as a country. So beginning from the family level, the way we socialize our children, male and female, is very important. When we talk about cultural norms, negative cultural norms, gender discriminatory cultural norms, when we talk about sexism, it all starts from the family. How are you training your boy child? How are you raising your girl child? Are you training the girl to feel that, oh, her position is in the kitchen? Are you training her to feel that she can take on, leadership responsibilities from their family? What is happening? For example, I come from a family where my father made us to believe that both male and females, had valuable contributions to make to the family. He used to, involve all his children, both male and female, in family meetings, discussing issues affecting business, the family business. And even though my father has died almost 40 years ago, as a family, we still are able to forge ahead with that particular example that he has shown us. And so nobody feels that, oh, I'm better than the other person. No brother of mine treats me like I'm a second-class citizen, and vice versa. And so that way, even from the family level, my own family members recognize that as a woman, I can take on leadership position. So if we socialize our children to appreciate the fact that they all have something to contribute to society, to the development of society, then it will be easy by the time they leave the home and go to the public space for them to also model this example. So as parents, because sometimes even the females, the mothers, are the ones that are equally reinforcing these gender stereotypes, making their girl children feel that, oh, they are not to do this, they are to do that. And they assign the roles that are more strategic to their boys. So even when you're cooking in the kitchen, for instance, there's nothing stopping the mother from assigning, responsibilities that have to do with cooking, that has to do with the maintenance of the home to the boy child. And the boy child grows up knowing that, oh, it's important for me to also do this. This is not just for a woman to do. Because if that boy child grows up knowing that it is not a menial. It is not a woman's role to cook. It's not a woman's role to clean the house. It's not a woman's role to take care of the child. When that boy becomes a man and he takes up, positions of leadership, he will also be able to model that. And when he's also raising his own children, he will also be able to, present that example to them. So it is very important how we socialize our children. What are we telling them? Are we allowing our girls to have a say in the home? Because if your children do not have a say in the home, your girl child, when you're having discussions, you tell them, oh, this does not concern you. This is men's talk, and you sideline them. By the time they grow up, they will not see themselves as being in a position to contribute anything or having anything important to say. So those are some of the ways that we can equally transform gender norms to make both men and women or boys and girls come to the realization that they all can play leadership roles in society.
Okay, let's get back to the phones. We have Hillary calling in from Delta. Hello, Hillary. Hillary from Delta.
Hello.
Yes, go right ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead.
My name is Hillary, and I'm calling from Delta State. Okay. I want to thank you for this wonderful topic you are discussing right now. I just want to share an experience. I'm a trader here in Asaba, and recently we are traders, and where the area where I trade, there are about 90% of women who are traders there, and in the union, only men have led as chairman of the union for a very long time. And only last year there was an election, and I had advocated that a woman should take up the leadership position. And the matter sparked a lot of reaction from the few men that are in the union. It was refused. I put a call across to the President General and the other top leaders in the area. And I was told that it's important that I should understand that men are meant to lead. And I was so surprised. And all my fight to ensure that a woman emerged proved abortive. But what happened was that they made the woman I chose to become the vice at the end of the day. That settles it. And up to now, I have to bow out of that union because I believe that a union that operates that way is not one I can be part of. But what I just want to beg is that if there's an information of where I could report such a matter to back up any woman who wants to take up such a leadership position, please, I should be made to know, because I am not informed to that extent. But I am very much interested in a woman taking up the leadership position of the union. Okay. Because they constitute 90% of the members. And it's interesting to know that none of them has ever led. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hillary. Let's go over to Abiola Akiode Afolabi. What do you make of the contributions by Hillary just a moment ago, the last caller?
Well, I think it's actually come back to what my sister Tammy was talking about how we are brought up, and so many things make people feel that women should not lead. There are things that have been normalized, which are not. Some of those stories are not true about the role of women in the society. The history has not been very helpful, to understand some of this context. And so that's why you find people who grow up understanding that women cannot lead. You see that also manifests in sectors where they exist. So for women in that kind of in that union, they are also part of the society. and they also see that that has been normalized in society. So they are not resisting it because they also don't think that it's something. They just see it as being normal. So and so these are part of the things that we are, as people who work in this area, we are shifting because these are patriarchal constructs, that have made the society, in that way. And some of those patriarchal structures, they are as a result of culture, they are also as a result of religion. We are seeing circumstances where, by virtue of the holy books, people have had to make arguments, about the places of women. But the truth of the matter is that gradually this is also shifting. People had asked questions, particularly about association of nurses. Everybody knows that we have more women as nurses, and you still find it very difficult to find, women in the leadership, of that kind of association. Teachers association, where we have a huge population of women. So if you see that, you would just know that, there are structural issues we need to deal with. There are issues of sociocultural hindrances, that we need to strategize on how to deal with it. Yes, there are issues of making sure that we also speak with the men. And you can see that it's been affected everywhere. If you look at the recent NNPC appointments, there is no single woman. So we can't, at this generation, still be at that level. So it must be intentional. And just like Mr. Hillary did, we must intentionally bring it to fore. At least, at the end of the day, his argument led to them having a female vice president. So at times, if you don't bring it to the face to say, this is not how it's supposed to be. How can we have 90% women and still yet women are not leading? So it's an issue that is on the table, and it's an issue that every day we need to deal with. We need to deal with the influencers in those areas, religious leaders, most of which are male. We need to be able to go into that traditional setting, to be able to bring some of this intentional conversation, up for them to know the implication of not having enough women, included in the society. And of course, other sectors like private sectors too. Sectors of, look at the number of life benchers who are lawyers, how many women are there? If you look at SEN in Nigeria. So you can see that it is very structural. So this, we can't deal with it without also being structural in our way. So it is not something that we expect will happen within a few days or a few moments. So it is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So, but we cannot wait until the time. The time is now. And that's why the side-by-side movement is talking about the need to ensure that we have visibility in the parliament and visibility leadership and in other leadership spaces.
Okay. Back to the phones. We have a caller from Jos. Just introduce yourself and go ahead with your question or comment.
Yeah, my name is Prosper from Jos. I think the only difference between we and women is in the production. I get my point. After when we were in school, there's no difference between a woman and a son. When I was in school, a woman was the first class person. So there's no difference. I'm not talking on understanding that God has created us. The difference between we and women are just to reproduce. So everybody that is keeping away, and instead of being a woman that won't belong to them, is making a great mistake. Women and men will all want just as a production because God has done it so that we will be able to reproduce. I want to understand that. Am I correct? Are you hearing me?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, we're hearing you. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Are you done?
Very well.
Well, looks like that call is dropped. So, well, just maybe you can call back. Well, let's come back here to Amstree, who's right in the studio. You heard the last but one caller. Interesting situation. About 90% I mean, the traders, mainly 90% women, yet it's virtually impossible to install a female leader, a female president of the association, and that's what you find in many places.
Yes, I think that's even a microcosm of even Nigeria's electoral process in itself. And it speaks to the enormous amount of work that we have to do at the grassroots in terms of changing mindsets.
All right. Just a moment. Let me ask you to pause a while. Just so we're about to talk about changing of mindsets. We have the scholar from Lafia, Mansour.
Hello?
Hello, Mansour, go ahead.
Sir? Yeah, are you hearing me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead, we can hear you, and turn down the volume of your TV.
If I may contribute, sir. Sometimes, sometimes there's integrity in any places.
Mansour, would you turn down the volume of your TV, please?
When we get back to the society we are today, that's what we... Yeah, so we get back to the community that we are now. Sometimes we fail to understand one thing in life. What is community for the first place? Community, it is group of people. Community, it is group of people living in given geographical area with common goal and aspiration. And when we get back to the higher, we term community refer to people inhabiting a certain locality having some degree of political autonomy, the sense of fellowship, the uniform set of religion, belief, ethnic, homogeneity, and obtain the particular dominant occupational function. So when we look at our society does not even choose anybody say particular person will become a leader. A leader is for everybody. Whenever you want to deliver what the society needs, and the society will live at peace, is part of security. In any place, security work. Okay, what is security for the first place?
Okay, well,
security, it is comprehensive and peaceful analysis. Form together.
Thank you so much, Mahmoud.
From the compound form to...
Right, thank you so much, Mahmoud. I guess you find it a little bit challenging to connect the dots there. I'm sorry, just go ahead from where you left off. The changing of the mindset.
Yes, so and part of that push to change the mindset is also some of the lessons we can learn from organizations that have also been able to turn the curve. An example is the Nigerian of Journalists, the Abuja chapter, which elected a woman not too long ago as their leader in the FCT, which for me is a commendable example that we can use, we can place side by side. And so in terms of how we move forward with that whole mindset change at the grassroots level, we should be able to now create a nexus with those organizations that have been able to do it. I think it would be a very fantastic thing, for example, if an organization that has the best practices, the promising practices, is able to share that knowledge. That way, that whole resistance that comes with that whole mindset that women cannot lead, it can begin to change. So for the that level of grassroots orientation we need, it is something like Abiola said, that it's going to take time, but we need to already start investing the effort. And the very other fundamental thing for me is what example are we seeing from those that hold the levers of political power? So if, for example, that union could also see that at the level of the state, at the level of subnational authority, at the state level, more women are being empowered, more women are being given position of authority to participate in the political process, then the process will percolate across the board, and people will begin to see that it's time for them to change and move with the best practices.
All right. We'll take another message at this point. All right, thanks for staying with us. We go straight to the phones. Idris from Jigawa is on the line. Hello? Hello, Idris.
That is Zelani Idris from Jigawa State.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Zelani Idris. Zelani. Yes, exactly. Zelani Idris from Jigawa State. Okay, I'm just listening to your radio broadcast, this your program now. I really appreciate the content of your discussion. So this constantly collide or fall. Yes, exactly. And exactly it comes to my mind that the significance of even women to serve as leaders in some organizations is very, very important. Why? Because just now, because the problem definitely collide with what I'm just doing in our church, that I'm just cascading training to school leadership, in which I can recognize the cases of so many women there.
Okay, thank you.
Position of headmistress of some schools.
All right, thank you, Idris. Thank you so much. Let's get on to Tammy Edit once more. And what are the ways to promote work-life balance for women in leadership positions? How best to do this?
For that, I would like to add to the point that was made with regards and that was denied the presidential position. And I think that the point earlier that Abiola made earlier on about having, a legal framework as well as laws that are justiciable that make it easy for women to take on certain positions is critical, addressing those kinds of issues. I had an experience when I was an undergraduate. I served as the vice president of my communities association, and the president happened to do something that made him ineligible to continue to be president. And our constitution had provided that the vice president would take over where the president was no longer able to serve. And so the leadership fell to me as the vice president at that time. And there was some resistance from some of the men within the organization, those in the because obviously, they didn't consider the possibility that the man who was the president would become ineligible and the woman could be made to be the president. But because it was already in the constitution of the association, some of the men, in the association were the ones that put their foot down and say, well, when we put this clause in our constitution, we should have considered the possibility that this can become a reality. So one way of addressing that issue is ensuring that you put it in the constitution that, men and women, in my own case, you can say it happened by default, but in reality, it was possible for me to take on that position because it is there provided by our constitution. So going back to the question that you've asked about work-life balance, this again comes back to the issue of policies. A lot of organizations now have become aware of the need, to acknowledge the contributions of women, for example, when it has to do with their social reproductive role and their biological reproductive role. The fact that, women bear children, and this is a sex rule which cannot be, changed or which cannot be, set aside. So in recognition of that, there are organizations that have made provision for, for maternity leave, in some cases, even paternity leave, to ensure that women who have babies in the course of their career are able to also have the time they need to support themselves, that while, without burning themselves out. So one of the ways, is to ensure that, while the woman is contributing to the productive activities, she also is able to equally pay attention to her reproductive activities without necessarily experiencing a burnout. Okay. So that is one way. And then there are also other ways, where women are also able to achieve work-life balance, by ensuring that they are able to plan their activities, their productive activities in such a way that they give themselves the needed space, to be able to recover from whatever, burnout that they could have experienced in the office.
All right. Thank you so very much. I'm afraid we have to leave the conversation here because we've run out of time. So thank you to Tammy Edith Kamonke, Executive Director, Gender Perspective in Development, who joined us via Zoom. We thank you for your contributions. Let's also say thank you to Abiola Akiode Afolabi, lawyer, civil rights activist, and founding director of Women Advocates Research and Documentation Center. Thank you for your contributions on the program tonight. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And back here, let's say a big thank you to Amsfria Janaku, civil society activist. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Right. And that's our program today. We thank you all for watching. Next week, we'll be back with NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Bye for now.